Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Tuesday, 17th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, Dussel has arrived. All went well. Meep had told him that he must be at a special place in front of the post office at 11 o'clock, where a man would meet him. Dussel was standing at the rendezvous, dead on time. Mr. Kufus, who knows Dussel too, went up to him and told him that the said gentleman could not come, but asked whether he would just go to Meep at the office. Kufus got into a jam and went back to the office, while Dussel walked in the same direction. At 11:20, Dussel tapped at the office door. Meep helped him off with his coat so that the yellow star would not be seen, and took him to the private office, where Kufus engaged him in conversation until the charwoman had gone. Then Meep went upstairs with Dussel under the pretext that the private office was needed for something, opened the swinging cupboard, and stepped inside before the eyes of the dumbfounded Dussel. We all sat around the table upstairs, waiting with coffee and cognac to greet the newcomer. Meep showed him into our sitting room first. He recognized our furniture at once, and had not the remotest idea that we were there above his head. When Meep told him, he nearly passed out with surprise, but luckily Meep didn't give him much time, and took him straight upstairs. Dussel sank into a chair, speechless, and looked at us all for a while, as if he had to really take it all in first. After a while, he stuttered, "But, aber, sind you not in Belgium, then?" "First der Militär nicht come, das Otto, the escape is sie nicht successful?" We explained everything to him, that we had spread the story about the soldiers and the car on purpose, to put people, and especially the Germans, on the wrong track, should they try to find us. Dussel was again struck dumb by such ingenuity, and when he had explored further our super-practical, exquisite little secret annex, he could do nothing but gaze about him in astonishment. We all had lunch together. Then he had a little nap and joined us for tea, tidied up his things a bit, Meep had brought them beforehand, and began to feel more at home, especially when he received the following typed Secret Annex Rules, Van Den product. Prospectus and Guide to the Secret Annex. Special institution as temporary residence for Jews and such like. Open all the year round. Beautiful, quiet, free from woodland surroundings, in the heart of Amsterdam. Can be reached by trams 13 and 17, also by car or bicycle. In special cases, also on foot, if the Germans prevent the use of transport. Board and lodging, free. Special fat-free diet. Running water in the bathroom, alas, no bath, and down various inside and outside walls. Ample storage room for all types of goods. Own radio center. Direct communication with London, New York, Tel Aviv, and numerous other stations. This appliance is only for residents' use after 6 o'clock in the evening. No stations are forbidden, on the understanding that German stations are only listened to in special cases, such as classical music and the like. Rest hours. 10 o'clock in the evening until 7:30 in the morning. 10:15 on Sundays. Residents may rest during the day, conditions permitting, as the directors indicate, For reasons of public security, rest hours must be strictly observed. Holidays outside the home postponed indefinitely. Use of language. Speak softly at all times by order. All civilized languages are permitted, therefore no German. Lessons. One written shorthand lesson per week. English, French, mathematics, and history at all times. Small pets. Special department. Permit is necessary. Good treatment available. Vermin accepted. Meal times. Breakfast every day except Sundays and bank holidays. 9 a.m. Sundays and bank holidays. 11:30 a.m. approximately. Lunch, not very big. 1:15 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. Dinner, cold and or hot. No fixed time, depending on the news broadcast. Duties. Residents must always be ready to help with office work. Baths. The wash tub is available for all residents from 9 a.m. on Sundays. The WC, kitchen, private office, or main office, whichever preferred, are available. Alcoholic beverages, only with doctor's prescription. End. Yours, Anne. Thursday, 19th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, Dussel is a very nice man, just as we had all imagined. Of course, he thought it was all right to share my little room. Quite honestly, I'm not so keen that a stranger should use my things, but one must be prepared to make some sacrifices for a good cause, so I shall make my little offering with a good will. If we can save someone, then everything else is of secondary importance, says Daddy, and he's absolutely right. The first day that Dussel was here, he immediately asked me all sorts of questions. When does the charwoman come? When can one use the bathroom? When is one allowed to use the lavatory? You may laugh, but these things are not so simple in a hiding place. During the day, we mustn't make any noise that might be heard downstairs, and if there is some stranger, such as the charwoman, for example, then we have to be extra careful. I explained all this carefully to Dussel, but one thing amazed me. He is very slow on the uptake. He asks everything twice over and still doesn't seem to remember. Perhaps that will wear off in time, and it's only that he's thoroughly upset by the sudden change. Apart from that, all goes well. Dussel had told us a lot about the outside world, which we have missed for so long now. He had very sad news. Countless friends and acquaintances have gone to a terrible fate. Evening after evening, the Green and Grey Army lorries trundle past. The Germans ring at every front door to inquire if there are any Jews living in the house. If there are, then the whole family has to go at once. If they don't find any, they go on to the next house. No one has a chance of evading them unless one goes into hiding. Often they go around with lists and only ring when they know they can get a good haul. Sometimes they let them off for cash, so much per head. It seems like the slave hunts of olden times. But it's certainly no joke. It's much too tragic for that. In the evenings when it's dark, I often see rows of good, innocent people accompanied by crying children, walking on and on, in charge of a couple of these chaps, bullied and knocked about until they almost drop. No one is spared. Old people, babies, expectant mothers, the sick, each and all join in the march of death. How fortunate we are here, so well cared for and undisturbed. We wouldn't have to worry about all this misery were it not that we are so anxious about all those dear to us whom we can no longer help. I feel wicked sleeping in a warm bed while my dearest friends have been knocked down or have fallen into a gutter somewhere out in the cold night. I get frightened when I think of close friends who have now been delivered into the hands of the crudest brutes that walk the earth, and all because they are Jews. Yours, Anne. Friday, 20th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, none of us really knows how to take it all. The news about the Jews had not really penetrated through to us until now, and we thought it best to remain as cheerful as possible. Every now and then, when Miep lets out something about what has happened to a friend, Mummy and Mrs. Van Daan always begin to cry, so Miep thinks it better not to tell us any more. But Dussel was immediately plied with questions from all sides, and the stories he told us were so gruesome and dreadful that one can't get them out of one's mind. Yet we shall still have our jokes and tease each other when these horrors have faded a bit in our minds. It won't do us any good or help those outside to go on being as gloomy as we are at the moment. And what would be the object of making our secret annex into a secret annex of gloom? Must I keep thinking about those other people, whatever I am doing? And if I want to laugh about something, should I stop myself quickly and feel ashamed that I am cheerful? Ought I then to cry the whole day long? No, that I can't do. Besides, in time, this gloom will wear off. Added to this misery, there is another, but of a purely personal kind, and it pales into insignificance beside all the wretchedness I've just told you about. Still, I can't refrain from telling you that lately I have begun to feel deserted. I am surrounded by too great a void. I never used to feel like this. My fun and amusements and my girlfriends completely filled my thoughts. Now I either think about unhappy things or about myself. And at long last I have made the discovery that Daddy, although he's such a darling, still cannot take the place of my entire little world of bygone days. But why do I bother you with such foolish things? I'm very ungrateful, Kitty, I know that. But it often makes my head swim if I'm jumped upon too much. And then on top of that, have to think about all those other miseries. Yours, Anne. Saturday, 28th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, we have used too much electricity, more than our ration. Result, the utmost economy and the prospect of having it cut off. No light for a fortnight. A pleasant thought that, but who knows, perhaps it won't happen after all. It's too dark to read in the afternoons after 4 or half past. We pass the time in all sorts of crazy ways, asking riddles, physical chaining in the dark, talking English and French, criticizing books. But it all begins to pile in the end. Yesterday evening I discovered something new. To peer through a powerful pair of field glasses into the lighted rooms of the houses at the back. In the daytime, we can't allow even as much as a centimeter's chink to appear between our curtains, but it can't do any harm after dark. I never knew before that neighbors could be such interesting people. At any rate, ours are. I found one couple having a meal, one family was in the act of taking a home movie, and the dentist opposite was just attending to an old lady who was awfully scared. It was always said about Mr. Dussel that he could get on wonderfully with children, and that he loved them all. Now he shows himself in his true colors. A stodgy, old-fashioned disciplinarian, and preacher of long drawn-out sermons on manners. As I have the unusual good fortune to share my bedroom, alas, a small one, with his lordship, and as I'm generally considered to be the most badly behaved of the three young people, I have a lot to put up with, and have to pretend to be deaf in order to escape the old, much repeated ticking offs and warnings. All this wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't such a frightful sneak, and he didn't pick on Mummy, of all people, to sneak to every time. When I've already just had a dose from him, Mummy goes over it all again, so I get a gale aft as well as fore. Then, if I'm really lucky, I'm called on to give an account of myself to Mrs. Van Daan. And then I get a veritable hurricane. Honestly, you needn't think it's easy to be the badly brought up central figure of a hypercritical family in hiding. When I lie in bed at night and think over the many sins and shortcomings attributed to me, I get so confused by it all that I either laugh or cry. It depends on what sort of mood I am in. Then I fall asleep with a stupid feeling of wishing to be different from what I am or from what I want to be. Perhaps to behave differently from the way I want to behave or do behave. Oh, heavens above, now I'm getting you in a muddle too. Forgive me, but I don't like crossing things out, and in these days of paper shortage, we are not allowed to throw paper away. Therefore, I can only advise you not to read the last sentence again, and certainly not to try to understand it, because you won't succeed anyhow. Yours, Anne. Monday, 7th December, 1942. Dear Kitty, Hanukkah and St. Nicholas Day came almost together this year. Just one day's difference. We didn't make much fuss about Hanukkah. We just gave each other a few little presents. And then we had the candles. Because of the shortage of candles, we only had them alight for 10 minutes. But it is all right as long as you have the song. Mr. Van Daan has made a wooden candlestick, so that too was all properly arranged. Saturday, the evening of St. Nicholas Day, was much more fun. Miep and Ellie had made us very inquisitive by whispering all the time with Daddy, so naturally we guessed that something was on. And so it was. At 8 o'clock, we all filed down the wooden staircase through the passage in pitch darkness. It made me shudder and wish that I was safely upstairs again, into the little dark room. There, as there are no windows, we were able to turn on a light. When that was done, Daddy opened the big cupboard. "Oh, how lovely!" we all cried. A large basket decorated with St. Nicholas paper stood in the corner, and on top there was a mask of Black Peter. We quickly took the basket upstairs with us. There was a nice little present for everyone, with a suitable poem attached. I got a doll, whose skirt is a bag for odds and ends. Daddy got bookends, and so on. In any case, it was a nice idea, and as none of us had ever celebrated St. Nicholas, it was a good way of starting. Yours, Anne.